We're talking with fan people friends. My name is host Eric, and tonight we have Type War Saturday night Typologython. I've got Kim in the background. We're recently emotionally sore from a vigorous therapy session with a non-therapist.
So I feel great.
Me too. I'm not really sore. I figure it's therapy. It's supposed to make you no pain, no gain, they say, but we didn't really have any pain. We chatted with Emily for quite some time this evening. She came over to my house. She's some lady who Fukoki live streamed with not that long ago. And she was talking to us about relationship stuff and such. She's an INFJ and very INFJ, which means, of course, we greatly enjoyed her company because INFJs are pretty smooth in that capacity. And hopefully she enjoyed her time with us as well. We went to go buy her dinner, but she just ordered soup. So, not really dinner. But I told her also, she had I owe her a typing session because she did a good job of playing therapist, sort of. She's not a therapist. She's not a licensed therapist or anything. She said she was just practicing, I explained to her that I'm really the ultimate authority on licenses because I'm in charge of licenses all the time. And those other people who license therapists, they don't know what they're doing. Me, if you're licensed by all licenses all the time, you're a licensed therapist at that point. Then you're really a licensed therapist, okay? Because you have a real all licenses all the time license, which is the best kind of license you can get.
Stop.
Kim, I'm trying to move the fucking mic, and I'm.
You keep saying.
Okay, then you know what? You shut up. You shut up, and I'm going to leave the mic the fuck where it is.
Okay.
Good evening, Jordan Spike. As you can see, Kimberly's up to her old tricks again.
No, I'm just saying, be quiet about the...
Kimberly's like that mayhem guy in those car insurance commercials.
I'm only saying, you kept saying that word over and over and over again.
Yeah, I know, you were FE policing me.
Yes.
This is not the topic of this video, okay? This is Type War. We're having a war. Jordan, what type are you? Type A. Other guy, type B. Fight. Type War.
Oh, Eric.
It's really kind of a crazy day, and I feel a certain amount of relief being able to live stream a bit before bed because last night Kimberly and I were fighting, and then today we weren't fighting, but it was a bit of a hectic day. Like I said, in the morning I had to work on the kitchen. I needed to paint these cabinets because I'm doing some work in there. And then I had to go to work. Came back. Emily came over. We chatted with her for a long time. Then, while she was here, like Haley dropped by unexpectedly. Sarah dropped by unexpectedly. And that was a little chaotic. And anyway, I feel like I haven't really settled into my normal self until I've done a little bit of live streaming or at least some video making, and I haven't really done much of either today. I will share one thought on cognitive functions that I had today, though, that was interesting, which is the idea that when you think about an action function like SE or NE and a knowledge function like NI or SI, the real difference lies in patience with the process. So action types, SE DOMs, NE DOMs, are very likely to want to let processes play out before drawing any conclusions about them. Because that's what action really is saying, let's engage in a process of acting that persists for some duration, and presumably, hi Daniel Ramirez, presumably that those individuals will be much more patient with letting the process play out and be much more failure tolerant. Whereas a knower is going to be much less patient with processes playing out because they're going to want to know in advance what they're getting into. And they're going to be much more picky about which courses of action they decide to pursue and which ones they don't, you know? So it's normally, I've been thinking historically about action functions and knowledge functions as being degrees, different kinds of functions, you know, like one of them is a knowing thing and one of them is a action thing. But my thought today made me sort of think of it as two ends of a process tolerance spectrum. So in that regard, I just mean that if it's two ends of a process tolerance spectrum, then an action function is simply somebody who's very comfortable with process playing out and failure and not having an advanced clarity about how this is going to go. So it's basically saying, I'm very safe in life in some capacity because I don't need to know how this is going to go because I'm very comfortable improvising. And I'm most comfortable, in fact, when I'm reacting to things happening on my preferred modality. Whereas a knower is much happier when things are not happening that require improvisation and responsiveness in real time of the sort that an action type can do. But instead, they want things much more orderly, interactive, because that's their tool function. And they want to know in advance before they start doing anything what it's going to be like. They don't want to allow processes to reveal whether it was a good idea or a bad idea. They want to know that in advance.
Or improvise.
Or improvise?
And we're also not comfortable improvising.
Right. Yeah, I know. You don't like to improvise. So as a consequence, you're most comfortable when you know in advance all the significant aspects of whatever it is you're dealing with.
Right.
I'm having trouble getting. Let me pop this chat out somehow because it's not fitting like it's supposed to. Maybe it's this. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, there we go. It just started. On the ENF emailed you quite a while ago. You mean like today or yesterday? Or is that a different person? Regardless, here's how I pop it out. Now I can pop out the chat. Pop out. So then the thing is, the action function is furthest away from a knowledge function when it's dominant, and the knowledge function is furthest away from an action function when it's dominant, which would tend to suggest they're on opposite ends of some sort of spectrum, right? Concurrently, a interface function and a judging function are furthest apart from each other. And the reason for that is because interface, action goes act, judge. And comparatively, interface goes act, no, act, no, judge, no, act, no, judge, no, a little bit. So it's got built into it a certain amount of interface style judging. And so as a consequence, it's as far away as it can be from non-interface style judging. In other words, interface needs to basically know, get information, know things about it, and take action that's designed to be responsive to that one little element. It's not a bigger action package than that. And so that's why I think that judging functions, when interface is at the dominant slot, then the judge is in the fourth, and vice versa. So far away as you can get on the conscious stack, because if you're almost always interfacing, then you're very rarely judging with a judging function because of the nature of interface demanding a different kind of response. I don't remember then, Daniel. I don't know. I can barely remember the names of and communications that happened 2 days ago. Okay, so what makes a type war versus just a type skirmish or type battle or something else? Well, it's type war when we learn to properly hate all types not our own. Then we have full blast type war. We've got 16 distinct communities of individuals all striving to kill off all of the other types so they can be the only type left. That would be a full blast global nuclear type war. But tonight I think we could probably just have like a type civil war. Maybe me versus Myers or me versus Briggs, but I'm not taking them both on at the same time. That's not fair. Feels like Kimberly left the door open. That's always helpful. Yeah, I'm tired this evening. I'm kind of strung out in a sense because I didn't really sleep last night much. So it tends to make my brain not work quite as well. I'm not quite as quick. And so bear with me a little bit. Around September, I believe, but I was seeking a presumably productive dialogue. Did I respond? I don't know if I responded. If I didn't respond, it's only because I wasn't checking my email during that period of time. If I was checking my email, I'd probably respond. I respond to almost every real person's email. What would happen if we put each type of all four quadrants together and made them complete a task? Wouldn't they all succeed at the task since they have a leader, or would one quadrant be able to succeed? So if you put 16 people together and say complete this task versus 4 people together or 16 all of the same quadra, like 4 examples of a quadra. So you put together 4 alpha quadras and say, will this team of 4 alpha quadras do better on this task than this team of 16 different types?
You locked the front door?
I don't know why.
It's locked.
Can you go in the back door? That happens to me all the time, by the way. It's like I come out here sometime when the door's been locked and I didn't unlock the front door, and then I leave the garage and I go around the front to go inside and I realize it's locked. I should walk around back to the back again. When it happens to Kim, of course, there's at least a little bit of an attempt to blame me for it somehow. You know. But that's just shit that happens. So what would I think it would depend on the type of task. If you said, well, let's make some sort of presentation for everybody, then probably Alpha Quadra would do as well or better than any. We're very good at that sort of stuff. You might say that the NTJs and SFPs would do okay, but I don't think the SFPs are going to be as much help in that as the SFJs are. Evaluate an argument or debate between an INTP and an ENFP. I mean, it's not going to. No one was staffed today. We met with Emily. She's not a therapist, but she's planning on being one eventually. So, good enough for me. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating, Matthew. It's frustrating for all of us to have conflict, but apparently I must be eating too much gluten. I don't know. The goal is to survive. We have Team Delta, Team Alpha, Team Beta, or Team Gamma. Okay, well, what are the risks of death? Are we attacking each other? Is it a war? An actual war? I will get to you in a second, XC, because you said something the other day that I was thinking about that caused me to reflect on this SE anything. But anyway, okay, so if it's just a straight up physical war, now it's presumably let's put them like this. Let's make the rules like this, okay? You've got an area of natural land that's a certain stretch of distance. It doesn't matter how many, like maybe 10 acres. And you give each of the groups 2 acres to make their initial starting spot is in one of the 4 corners, basically. And nobody has any weapons.
And nobody can use physical attacks that are with your fists or your feet or anything like that, your body, because that would give an advantage to people with bigger size, and that would skew the results, right? So you have to have them try to kill each other with no weapons they bring in. They can't use physical fistfights type attacks. They've got to try to figure out how to kill each other just using rocks and sticks and stuff like that. You can hit people with sticks and kill them like that. You can throw rocks at them. You just can't use your fists or your legs. So I would say in that instance, probably Beta Quadra would win, because they have the STPs. And I think while Alpha Quadra is trying to figure out what they're going to do, and while, you know, Gamma Quadra is carefully constructing some plan of some sort, and what is it, Delta? Which one's Delta? Is it Delta the NFPs and the STJs, or is Gamma the NFPs and the STJs? I don't know. The NFPs and the STJs aren't clever enough, and they're not decisive enough. So they're not going to win on decisiveness. They're not going to win on cleverness. Alpha might be very clever, but I suspect that Alpha Quadra would avoid getting killed longest, probably. But I don't think they're necessarily going to win the war. But I think the NFPs and the STJs are going to go down quick. The STJs are going to try to do something really conventional. The NTJs and the SFPs, well, the NTJs will send the SFPs off to do the dirty work and organize the whole thing and think about it, whatever. STJs won't be any faster. They'll just be worse at it. And the NFPs won't be any more help to the STJs than the SFPs will be to the NTJs, because the SFPs at least can throw rocks accurately and hit people with sticks with ferocity and stuff. Whereas the NFPs will be like ideating shit. But I really feel like this making a guillotine out of these slate slivers would be the best plan. So I think that the answer is ultimately Beta Quadra wins. And the board goes like this. Everybody starts in their four corners. 15 minutes later, the ESTP and the ISTP arrive on Delta Quadra's camp and kill them all, assuming Delta is INTJ, ENTJ, and the SFPs. And they just go up there, and they're not even really particularly stealthy. They're just so fast and there all of a sudden that they're totally caught by surprise. And the STPs have several big rocks and big sticks with them, and they just bash their heads in and kill them all. So now the STPs and the NFJs have two corners to work with. The NFJs aren't going to be much use in this fight because they're social knowledge people, and they're not really, their intuition is not going to really work on a system like war, particularly where there's not any sort of diplomacy aspect to it anyway. So they're going to just sort of like encourage the STPs basically and say, wait, hold up. Those guys we just killed those guys. Let Gamma Quadra find them first. And then when Gamma Quadra finds them, we'll be hiding. They'll come investigate it. And they're going to be super absorbed in it because they're going to be so motivated to find out what happened and so curious about that. They're going to be all totally caught up in it. Then you jump out and bash them in the heads with rocks. So pretty much it happens like the NFJs say, because one of the NFJs actually got to meet one of the people on that other team over there and realized what kind of person he was and was able to predict his behavior in some fashion. Because now all that's left is the NFJs with the STPs versus Alpha Quadra, who got lucky and was put in the other corner. Now, Alpha Quadra at this point has made some like cleverish sort of plans, but the INTP isn't satisfied with them. And the ENTP sort of realizes there's nothing we can be able to execute here plan-wise, really, because we don't have enough resources and none of us is that good with TE. And basically, we got rocks and sticks and shit. What are we going to do here? Okay, well, We could try to like hide ourselves in some way and pop out and get them, but that's going to require a lot of surprise to overcome the fact that we don't really have any super dominant weapons. So I think what the ENTP would do is probably suggest high ground someplace where you can see anybody coming from a distance. Try to stay hidden. Let them come up toward you until they're relatively close. Coordinate a combined rock throw with each person have 2 big hefty rocks in their hand. Wait for them to get as close as you can. Pop up from behind the rocks and then throw them all at once at the 2 STPs. Hopefully you take one down at least with the rock throw, and then you hope that they're thrown up a bit, that mixed up enough that you can get your second rocks off and get the other guy down. So in that potentiality, then you got Alpha Quadra left against the NFJs. If that were the case, I would like Alpha Quadra's chances. The ESFJ is always willing to be a noble martyr because they're always willing to take one for the team. So, I mean, as ENTP as a group, I'm going to send ESFJ out in front. And with a lot of praise, though. Believe me, there's going to be a lot of praise of the nobility of the ESFJ and his bravery and courage. That way, he's sure to be brave and courageous and out in front. And ISFJ, well, they're very defensive anyway. So they're going to notice. They're going to actually be ideationally useful because they're going to notice anything that could possibly go wrong. Eric? Question mark, says TJ Music. Yes, says Daniel Ramirez. This is hilarious, says Hippie in Disguise. That's why I'm calling the police, because I hate hilarity. Oh, not me, Eric. I don't feel him to be INTP. What do you feel him to be? A persimmon? So yeah, in this scenario with the war and the quadras and the 10 acres, I think the likeliest winning team is Beta, and Alpha is a dark horse candidate. INTP is going to be more or less useless, except here's the thing about INTP. They may think of one thing or something that turns out to actually be kind of critical, and it'll matter. But they're so deliberative. If they were in charge of the group, if INTP were in charge of the group, we'd still be sitting there drawing diagrams in the dirt when they came to kill us. INTP will tell you why you'll lose. We're gonna lose this, you guys. Why? Well, I was doing some thinking about it, and there's only like 14 different scenarios in which they could possibly approach this. And 12 of them were in the wrong place. The other 2, even if we're in the right place, by my calculations, at least 2 of us die. So there's a small chance that probably me, I might survive, because I'm not going to really put myself out there where I could get hit by anything. Yeah, meanwhile, ESTP and ISTP are chopping people's heads off left and right. What should we do? I don't know. Let's go kill those other folk. They're in our way and we're to win. That's why they've got to die again. Evaluate an argument debate between INTP and an ENFP. Right. TI versus NEFI. Well, I mean, at least there's nobody's polars anymore in the mix, Oh no, there is. TI polar for ENFP is going to be in the mix with TI dominant for INTP. It's going to be a frustrating conversation for INTP. If ENFP is arguing with you, just shake your head and walk away. They're not interested in doing real argumentation because they just go, but emotions though. They're very powerful. They consume my heart like spleen in the liver. What should we do? I don't know. Don't worry, XZ. I got some good news for you. I'm a life coach. A licensed life coach from All Licenses All the Time. Has licensed me as a life coach, a non-life coach, a non-living coach, and a death coach. 2 friends were arguing. Then I showed up, and everybody died. He doesn't choose to argue unless actually provoked in a particular manner, so his behavior is slightly deceptive compared to stereotypical debater visionary. This other Eric fellow sounds like my INTP brother. I was just talking about this earlier. 2 friends were arguing. One was saying, marmalade is vastly superior to your strawberry jam. The other said, no, strawberry jam is for the poor. Fancy people like me eat marmalade. Back and forth they went, back and forth. Marmalade, strawberry, marmalade, strawberry. Finally, they began throwing jam at each other. And shortly thereafter, they were seen screaming as a giant had placed in between 2 slices of bread and raised their sandwich to his mouth, saying, jelly. He didn't get there were people underneath the jelly. It was a Trump fight. One fiends was fact stats, etc., and the other was just making fun of him, etc. You, Eric, you doesn't choose to argue unless actually provoked. I do. I argue sometimes. It depends on my mood. I don't really argue as much as I used to anymore. And the reason is simply because if I'm going to argue, I want it to be worth my time, which means I don't want to have somebody else come and say the same stupid bullshit that I've defeated plenty of times before. I want, I want at least either a big stage or a real challenge. You left a cherry pie in your car, huh? Is that some sort of deeply sensual innuendo? Hey there, Snacks. Snacks McGinney. Joseph House. I also make music, but I am somewhat new to beat making. You should check me out sometime if you want. I need to get better, though. Don't we all, Joseph House? Don't we all? I was making beats earlier. Boy, I got some pretty fancy beat making going on because I got a very, very cutting edge, top of the line. Cost $14,000 for this high tech machine. I don't want that. Thank you. Boom, boom, boom. That's right. It's a realistic Concert Make 200. And what I was doing earlier is I was making beats with just a single push of the button. Listen to the beat. Listen to the jam. This beat is such a badass jam. Listen to the beat. Listen to the jam. I think I'm going to name this beat Sam. Listen to the beat. It's so good. So good.
Can you say something that rhymes with May?
May. May and pay and May and pay. I say May when I pay your baby. May,
No, I want to say something. You are gay if you like that stupid thing. Gay, 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 gay. Gay, gay, gay.
Kimberly, this is not a stupid thing. Okay? That's not the only beat it has. Don't fool yourself, girl. It's going right up your poop chute with this march. Yeah, 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 yeah. Listen to the march. We're going marching. Listen to the march. I'm feeling parched. I want some water inside of my... What?
Can you quit hogging the chat?
I'm not hogging the chat. How am I hogging the chat? You want me to lean back?
Yeah, I want to see.
I practice leaning forward to show my engagement.
I want to say hi to everyone too. Hi, everyone.
F sharp major at 160 BPMs.
Are you high? No.
Now what?
Did you rip one?
No.
Someone rippy in here.
There's one instrument on here. It's not like most of these are instruments I've heard of before: piano, violin, flute. But one of them is called fantasy. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Cherry pie talk. What's cherry pie talk?
Cherry pie talk is talk about cherry pies, which naturally refers to a woman's vaginal region.
Ew.
Yes. So if you remember that Warrant song, cherry pie, whatever, I forget how it goes. But it was a sexual innuendo. That's why parents and authorities nationwide were outraged. Play a note and you'll tell me what it is? Okay. What note is this? C sharp? Yeah, it is C sharp. You have perfect pitch?
The lame type.
Yeah, what types are most likely to be into diet and exercise? The type of people I don't hang out with. That's pretty cool, Jordan Spike. I'm jealous of that. I'm sure you've had lots of musicians tell you that. My pitch is pretty damn good. My relative pitch is pretty damn good, but I definitely don't have perfect pitch. That'd be nice. I mean, I don't know. I can't. I don't think it's necessarily exactly super useful, but I just have the sense that, well, if you have perfect pitch, you must somehow hear pitch better than me, which is frustrating, you know? It's like, I seem to hear pitch well. Seems like good music for a date with an Indian woman. Well, that's why I'm composing it for that purpose right now. I'm going out with some squaws, actually, later. It's me and a couple of squaws. They will be bringing their papooses, but I'm hoping I can get Running Bull to sit for them for a while. You went to a party full of ISTJs, and you played Pictionary, and you watched Little House on the Prairie. Well, that sounds like a pretty good party, frankly. I could go for that party. What kind of childhood result in third FE? I don't think childhood causes functions to be in any stack or causes you to have a certain type. I really don't. I think you're basically born as it. But if you were to say that it was a link, it would be a link to kids who feel very much like they don't need to attend to their own feelings. In other words, they're very well cared for. They don't feel as though the world is not responsive to their feelings. They think it's very responsive to their feelings. So they don't have to ignore. They can ignore them. That would seem to correlate with third F. I mean, polar FI is third FE. So I think it would be more likely it would be easier to explain it in terms of why you don't need FI than why you need third slot FE, you know? Is diet and exercise a low NI thing? Well, it's for people who don't like to be happy, as far as I can tell. According to Rich Beto, no adult has perfect pitch. Well, what the fuck does Rich Beto know? And I mean, but do you write? Is that how you write music? Like by visualizing the notes writing part and then hearing what it would sound like? Like you don't know in advance what it sounds like or something? No, you don't write music like that. You have some chords and you realize the melody that ought to go there. Would you theorize ENFPs could be truly genuine in their efforts? ENFPs? Yeah, I think they're genuine in their efforts. I think they're genuine about everything. I think it's just they don't get when genuineness isn't appropriate. Genuineness won't help me, make good policy decisions. It'll just helped me feel like I really was, my emotions were in the right place. I know this turned out bad and we gave 40,000 people cancer, but I really, really meant well. Yeah, IDC, I was just saying what he said. Oh, Rick Beto is a huge music teacher on YT. Rick Beto, huh? Never heard of him. Consciously and unconsciously as well. Hello from Germany, Kachubby. Unless maybe you're catch, hubby. You're a hubby who's a catch. Is algebra more TI or TE? TE. Algebra is boring for TI because it's like, here, practice these similar examples a bunch unnecessarily. Rick Beato must be INTJ. Must he? Does he like Rush? INTJs love Rush. Well established. I know one INTJ who does, so therefore it's true. Yeah, he does. Fuck that guy. Don't know anything about him, but fuck him. He's got a dorky name. I'm not having it. Rick Beto. Why don't you just call yourself Rick Beat Off? Douche. Does he TJ music? Now, can I get a show of hands? How many people here are not completely delusional insofar as they understand that Rush is terrible? How many people agree with me? Rush is terrible. Say, you go ahead and say, I'm not entirely delusional because I'm aware that Rush is terrible. Would ISTJs be good in the war like the general strategist? No, they'd be like a good explosive expert or something. You know. Good job, Jordan. You're smart. You're a smart person. You realize those people masturbating on their instruments isn't good. There's no songwriting to that. To the extent there is, oh my gosh, it's terrible. You're a little bit delusional and a little bit rock and roll TJ music. And a little bit trap music. You can tell when something qualifies as trap music. How? Well, does it have about 40 times too many hi-hats in it? Then yes, it's trap music. Do they have no sense of discretion regarding using hi-hats in many different capacities? No discretion at all? Okay, good. It's trap music. I know. Let's put, 38 64th notes in this little spot of hi-hat clicks. Oh, well, Nickelback is some sort of, what's the half-life on the toxicity of Nickelback? Is it 8,000 years? 9,000? I think it's about the same as plutonium, right? You think they're professional athletes or any DOMs or any tool users? Maybe if you're freakishly physically gifted, like, I'm sure if I were 7 inches taller, if I were 6'11", they would have found a way for me to play basketball, even if I'm not kind of clumsy or whatever, Rush have 2 good songs, Working Man and Spirit of the Radio. I'm not familiar with either of them.
Oh, how cute. Another one of my friends getting married.
One single melody with no chords on loop for 4 minutes. Yeah. The worst. Well, okay, but we should talk about also what maybe is the single worst band in history, and I've declared them so before. Of course, the Dave Matthews Band. A cancer, a plague upon humanity. If you're drunk, trap music sounds cool, but if you're sober, it sounds like anybody got a hold of a DAW and thought, ooh, this will sound dope. What's a DAW? I don't know their shit, but I know Rush popular among Ayn Rand fans because the drummer. People like Rush because they're like, ooh, they're fancy musicians or something. Does high SE equal good coordination? Probably correlates with it pretty strongly. When you're a child and get the belt used on you, you cry and it sucks, but later when you're an adult and your girlfriend does it to you, it's awesome. Why? You know, it's still awesome when you're an adult and your girlfriend does it to you, even if you didn't ever get the belt as a child. I might very well have found it awesome as a child. Yeah, right. It sounds like someone fell asleep on the hit hat pad. Or the hi-hat pad, depending on what's it called. If you're talking about like one of those little rappy things, you push those big squares, those gray squares. I don't know what those things are called, but I used to have one of those. Oh, a digital audio workstation. I like Audacity. I use Audacity. It's the most popular audio app in the world. It's completely free. And it's something I'm familiar with because I've used it for a long time. Audacity. Yeah, it's a pretty good app. You know, it's like one thing I've really gotten. It is war. It's war right now. I'm killing everybody with my story about Audacity. I'm in the need of a belt because my pants keep falling down. Take the Birch's belt and kick her out of the house after my whipping. Well, what I'm going to suggest for you are zip ties, Matthew Alistair. I often find myself in need of a belt, but what do I have here in the garage? A bag of zip ties. Instant belt if you need it. Torrent Fruity Loops, fam. I used to use Acid. I spent some time using Audition. I've used some other app that I've used before too. No, don't buy new pants. Michael Thompson, buying pants is a waste of money. Matthew Alistair could take that same pants money and go buy weed with it. There's no reason to be wasting it on pants. Pants, you can just make out a paper bag if you need to. Yeah. I guess I probably did use Fruity Loops or something like that. I don't think it was Acid. It was one that was very loopy for a little stretch of time. Got a couple of songs I wrote. It's interesting listening to my music from throughout the years and hearing my stages of development of mastering, mixing, and also the peculiarities of what gear I was using at that moment. Some of my shit sounds pretty like geary because for a long stretch I had a really nice pressure sensitive keyboard with lots of different shit in it, lots of different sounds and stuff. The people with third slot FE want to be likable, respected, or both? Both. They want to be liked and respected, and they're very upset if they're not both. I'd be happy to debate Sam Harris. I want to say to anybody who's watching this right now, either here in the chat or just viewing separately or whatever, if you have some sort of thought or connection or whatever with some sort of media personality that you think would be interested in potentially debating me, interviewing me, having me interview them, I don't care, whatever, and you feel like shooting that person a random email, you can always put my email address in there for them to reply to you if you want. It's stuartsire@gmail.com. That would be greatly appreciated. And, you know, it's something that I'm really terrible at, which is reaching out to other people and saying, hey, let's do this. And, you know, doing all the, I guess, FE legwork or TE, one of the two. But if anybody points me anything, I'll jump on just about anything. I'm not busy enough that I'm picky yet. You know, it's like any random person, like Emily called last night and started giving us advice about our relationship, and she ended up coming over today and hanging out with us for like 3 or 4 hours. The thing is, you guys can give me as many suggestions as you want. My dream would be to be surprised by, instead of hearing a suggestion, getting an email from somebody where Mianity contact me about you, and I think that I'd like to Mianity Man. I think he's INFJ, Sam Harris. He seems like an INFJ to me. Chomsky's such an idiot. Chomsky's an idiot. Chomsky's an idiot. Nobody seems to notice. Emily is this lady who was on the other Emily Prokoki's live stream not that long ago and was like, who typed this lady? And I was in the chat, I was going, INFP. She's an INFJ for sure, but I wasn't really paying attention in the chat. I was just kind of fucking around. I would appreciate the opportunity to set up a discussion debate with you, and that's why I emailed you so long ago. You're sure I'll debate with you and discuss. But see, the thing is, discussion and debate are different things, right? If you want to just chat with me, I'm in the raw rooms periodically. I'm not in there as much as I used to be, but I still go in there every day or two for a couple of hours or so. And you kind of got to just kind of catch me in there. If you want to debate something, that would be a video I wouldn't mind making because I don't have many opportunities to debate people. I have a lot of opportunities to discuss things with everybody. In the raw room, I can go in there anytime, and there's usually one or two people at least in there to talk about something. Or I can do this, which I've started doing lately, and it's really rather more gratifying, I think, in a way.
Yeah, a whole 2 hours of complaining about Kimberly.
Hey, most of my live streams are not about complaining about Kimberly.
Only when I walk in the door?
Well, yes, I've released Love Lou because I was wrong about her. I was also probably wrong about MBTI gifts. He probably is. Is Kim a love interest? Kim is my woman. She's over here.
No.
She's my woman, but she, but instead of saying, oh, live streaming, here's some positive things, Okay, Curtis, yeah. TJ Music wants Curtis, yeah. That's what that says. He loved the booze and cigarettes. I wonder if that's a low SE thing. Who loved the booze and cigarettes?
You.
Kim, give him a cheek kiss on the cheek. Right here, baby. First this cheek, then this cheek down here. Why does all INFP all look the same? I don't know if all INFP all look the same. Is she an ISFP? No. She's an ISFJ. She's an ISFJ. We talking about Christopher Hitchens. We ain't talking about the game. We talking about Christopher Hitchens. I know that mixing and mastering is a lot of work and time, and what he's come up with has worked. Someone who improvs, it works idiomatically. I mean, the thing is, regarding my mixing and mastering, it's something I've really only started to do pretty well within the last year. And the reason is because I guess I didn't really apply myself to it theretofore. Within the last year, I've successfully produced a couple of songs that I think are well produced. They're not great. They're not professional sounding, but they're much more well produced than a lot of my older stuff because I understand now how you got to kind of continually from the get-go start working the EQ ranges and start working the volume levels and stuff. So you're not really mixing. You're doing it from the very outset. I just do it within Audacity. And that's what I mean by that is I don't have mastering algorithms particularly like I used to have in Audition, but I don't need them.
Can I have a pen?
You haven't listened to very many of my songs probably, Jordan. I've got hundreds of them. So it's, I mean, like probably my most successful production as far as I'm concerned, as far as like mixing and mastering goes, is Share of Shame. Probably it's big, it's everything's in its own space, but it still sounds together in a way that's cohesive but distinct kind of thing. But it's like what I'll do is listen to like for example the song 21 Guns by Green Day. You may be familiar with it. That song is extremely well produced. like about as well produced as a song can be. Everything, the way you can turn it up all the way loud. Yeah, that was great. I love the MJ video.
Okay, type 4.
Your job, Kim.
You're hogging this.
Your job
You are.
is not to be out here to make sure that I'm not enjoying myself during my live streaming, or to explain to me that you don't like what I'm talking about, or to explain to me that I'm boring because you're bored. Go inside. Look, regardless of whether you like Green Day or think they're underrated or overrated, I personally like Green Day, but regardless of that, that particular Green Day song, 21 Guns, and not necessarily their earlier albums at all, but that song is, for me, an example of how I want the production to sound. Not the music or the song or anything, although I do like the song and I like their music, but I like some of their songs. But what I'm saying is that song represents to me somebody where they got the EQing all right. The bass is just the right EQ spot. So it's fat, but not muddy and not at the top, you know? And the guitar is just, it's a beautiful tone to get out of it. And it mixes in perfectly with the bass. The drums are booming. And they got these little other things going on, and everything is just perfect. You can turn it up all the way loud, and you never hit any listener fatigue. It's like mixed and mastered perfectly. Even if you hate the song, just listen to the mixing and mastering. Forget the song. I mean, I agree with you. There is a tinniness to them, and especially in their earlier albums, and that came with the fact that they weren't very well mastered or mixed. 21 Guns stands out. It's one from one of their more recent albums. They obviously had a much more high quality situation going on when they're recording. But also that Billy Joe's voice, he's got a fairly high frequency voice, and some of his earlier stuff seemed more high frequency, and it gets a little listener fatiguey. That's probably what you're talking about. If you get too much shit in like the 3,000 range or in the 6,000 range, then it'll start to wear on your ears after a bit. You got to be careful when you have like high pitched voices. I mean, to EQ them when they get loud or isolated. So, so you got to be careful about that. You got to be, it's like, to do it right requires a level of attention and detail that it's almost, the new reality is so much better. We have all this means to make music ourselves. We don't have to go through some, music label and record company and stuff like that to even successfully record music. It's much, much better the way it is now, obviously. But one of the problems with it is, unless you're super famous, your chances of making music that is as good as people who are super famous is very low, even if you're really a good songwriter or something like that, because you have to, well, I mean, I'm 47 and I'm still learning a great deal about how to make shit sound like that. It should be a team effort in the sense that there should be somebody who's going in there with a specific vision as the songwriter, musician type person or whatever. But there needs to be a very high quality, room guy. I don't know what you call that guy. Engineer. And there needs to be a very high quality producer that does the mixing and the mastering separately from the engineer. And these things need to be parsed out to people who are specialists, really. So I feel pretty proud of myself for doing as many things that I do as well as I do them. But I know that until and unless I get involved with some sort of operation that's got the resources to farm out the various tasks, like I said, then I'm never going to be able to sound as good as 21 Guns in terms of just the mixing and the mastering. Forget anything else. Yeah, I agree, Matthew. What you should do is get me a gig in a Connecticut coffee shop. Give me a good excuse to go to Connecticut. Have you got interested in filming? Me? Have I gotten interested in filming? No, not really. Like, what do you mean by filming? Like making movies versus little videos? No, I don't like filming. I don't really like visual media. I like making music. I like making ideational videos a lot because it's really like you're writing, but you don't have to write. It's just easier. I like writing stories. I wrote a book. I can actually start I got my current, I don't know if you know this or not, but I currently have this series of videos where I'm going through my cognitive function book, Exciting Tables and Words About Human Personality. And I'm reading a few pages at a time. And every day I schedule one, new one, and it comes out every day. I'm going to do the same thing with my novel, Gospel of the Pantheon, which is a pretty damn good book, frankly, considering it's now now over 10 years old. But I'll read that one in chunks like I do the other book, I think, and schedule those as well. People can check out that if they want to. It's a fantasy book of sorts, or mythology book of sorts. It's got gods and mortals in it, and it's a little meta, perhaps, in spots, but I try to keep it as story-driven as possible. Characters are pretty distinct from each other overall, and it's got some funny stuff in it, some funny parts, and it moves pretty quickly, I think. When I reread it not super long ago for the first time in a while, I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I thought, hey, that's good. Yeah, I see some mistakes. I would do things a little differently here and here and here, but it's good. I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it. I never tried to get it published, of course, because I don't know why. FI loaded music. Emo hip hop tracks. Yo, I'm totally feeling super sad. Somebody said something to make me feel bad. I got emotions, water from my eyes, pouring down my cheeks, dripping on my thighs. I'm emo, and I'm rapping. You can see what people do to me. They're crapping on my head. That's why I'm emo, because I'm saddened. And then they shot my dad, and then they made me mad, and I went and tried to get revenge, but I was too busy putting on mascara like you, because I'm emo. Emo rapping Joe. Is that what emo rappers sound like? Dark is the pit of despair in my soul. Ooh, 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 ooh. C.S. Joseph typed Oprah ESFJ. She is an ENFJ. You can make $1 million with that song nowadays. That's right. It's a tight song. It really resonates emotionally with the youth. Because I'm emo. I'll throw some more youth vernacular. Yo, dog, look. That's a dank meme. I'm a young person. Yo, dog, check it out. That's a dank meme. I'm a young person. Look at me. Pretty convincing? You guys buying it? You think I'm 22? No? Okay. I'll live with that. Being 22. It's weird. You guys who are young, probably most of you guys are like under 30. People who watch the channel, I suspect a majority of them are under 30. Yeah. Time goes by so quickly, and when you're 47, you'll realize you're exactly the same as you were when you're 27 in most ways. That you're not any more mature, you're not any older. Really, you don't feel any older, except you realize, oh shit, now like my knees hurt sometimes and stuff. Like, what the fuck's up with that? Which types are obsessed with editing? Really depends, I guess. I can get obsessed with editing when I'm doing an editing project. I make some edited videos sometimes, and sometimes start like twacking out on, getting all the little details and stuff. I never ended up with something perfect. ISFP editing? I don't know. ISFPs, do they do things? I'm not sure they really do anything. Have you ever been an NFP wasn't leaning left politically? Probably not. Yeah, a hip to the hop to everything is empty and bleak. I seem to be on a perpetually draining, exhausting, losing streak. Yeah, I went to the bank to get some money out. They told me you don't have any money in here. Get out. So I did. Now I'm crying in the gutter. Boo-hoo. Yeah! Woo! Everyone's so just like pumped up by that, right? I've got a deep and abiding malaise. This is more like a statement. Okay, well, statements are fine. Questions, statements, either way, commands. Those are the three kinds of sentences we have in English, I think. Statements, questions, and commands. So, of course, suggestive facial movements. All right, well, this is pushing. We've done an hour here now, and I've enjoyed myself, but I think Kimberly's bored, I can tell, and she's waiting for me to be done here so we can go inside or something. I'm ready to go inside and go to bed, for sure. I'm tired. So I'm going to wrap it up. Say goodnight. TJ Music, I've been telling you this for weeks. You need to go to bed earlier. I'm setting a bedtime for you, young man, of 7 p.m. For the next week, you do not go to bed any later than 7 p.m. Okay, remember.
I told him he could stay up till 7:30.
Kim, stop going against my orders.
No, 7:30.
This is why the children don't respect us, Kim. Because you're always undercutting me. You are always undercutting me with everything. I try to set some boundaries around here for TJ Music, and you just destroy it all. Good night, everybody. I got to go scold Kimberly. I'm sorry, TJ. She doesn't respect you more than that. She should respect you enough to make you go to bed at 7 p.m., like I said.